Welcome to part second of the video titled Seagull Strategy. In the part one, I clearly explained that why do you need Seagull strategy. Now, in this part, I would be covering four types of Seagull strategy. Number one is called vertical Seagull strategy. Vertical seagull strategy is adopted by the people, those who have different strike prices. Having said that, keeping the expiration same. So, example, we are on we are currently in August. If any trader is using vertical straddle strategy, which means that suppose it is Nifty, it is Bank Nifty, it is Dow Jones, it is Nasdaq, it could be gold, it could be oil, could be Brent, could be any asset class of the world. If he's using that, it precisely means he is keeping the strike price differ for both the legs. So suppose he is going long, which means that buy call and buy put. It means that the strike price for both buy call and buy put would be different. Having said that, the expiration would be same, which would be August. Please be note that theoretically speaking, straddle is net debit strategy. It is said that the long straddle is always net debit. Majority of the times, I repeat, majority of the time, this remains a fact, which is long straddle turning out to be a net debit strategy. But in the countries like India and United States, where operators play a very important role and majority of the market is controlled by operators, in this eventuality, there are times when long straddle is debit, but the debit is very, very limited. One universal fact is that the short straddle, which means you are selling the call and you are selling the put. In this eventuality, you are always net credit. But like I said, that straddle is an art. It's not a science. Unfortunately, books mention this as a science. Now, when I say straddle is an art, that doesn't mean that when you short a straddle, you get a humongous profit. No, that has never been the case. When you short a straddle, you sometimes get a very small profit, very small profit. So please be very careful. If you are selling a straddle, whether this is a vertical straddle, whether this is a horizontal straddle, whether this is synthetic straddle, or whether this is diagonal straddle, most complicated. In this eventuality, do remember that you always be net credit, but there is no hard and fast rule which is written that net credit would always be on the higher side. It might end up as a small net credit also. Please do take a note of that. Another important thing which we really need to understand is the synthetic straddle. Synthetic straddle is a straddle where the cost requirement is very, very high, which means that synthetic straddle is a straddle where you need to have a huge capital in place, which means that if you are thinking that you can have this straddle with a very small capital, then this might not be possible. Because in case of synthetic straddle, now what is synthetic? Now synthetic means that the strike price of both the call and the put, whether you are long straddle, whether you are short straddle, whether you are long or short, the strike price of both the calls as well as put is towards the higher side, towards the same. Since they are same, now same doesn't mean it always be in the money. It could be at the money, it could be out of the money, or it could be deep in the money, it could be deep out of the money. That completely depends upon the capital and the risk premia you are carrying. But having said that, synthetic capital is one of the most capital consuming strategy which we are having. Do take a note of that. And please do take a note of that. The business media, specifically in India, always promote synthetic straddle. But unfortunately, the same business media never promote that the capital requirements in the synthetic straddle is extremely high. Please do take a note of that. Third is called horizontal straddle. Now, in horizontal straddle, the biggest problem is the strike price is intact like synthetic, but the expiration differ. So let's example, you are creating a straddle on gold. You are playing on gold options. Since you are playing on gold options, when you create a horizontal straddle, it means the strike price remains the same, but the expiration differ, which means one you would be taking in the month of August, one you would be taking in the month of September. Please do take a note. I repeat, please note that there is no hard and fast rule that one is supposed to be in the month of August and second immediately the next month. You can have 1:2, you can have 1:3, you can have 1:4. It means suppose you are in the month of August and you are taking 1:4, which means you are taking the second leg in December. Now that risk you are carrying. Please do take a note of that. Fourth and last, and very complicated, which most of the people do not know how to use, but our fund is generally taking position using this route, which is diagonal straddle. Now, diagonal straddle is a straddle whereby not only the strike price of the two legs, whether you are on the long side or whether you are on the short side, not only the strike price differs, but also the expiration differs, which means that you are keeping the strike different, you are keeping the expiration different, which means you are playing on both. In terms of capital consumption, I repeat, in terms of capital consumption, it is the highest after synthetic straddle. But in terms of success, it is also the highest. Now let me clarify the word success. By success, I mean you should have an excellent knowledge. I repeat, you should have an excellent knowledge regarding the designing of diagonal straddle. Unfortunately, many people in the globe do not have an expertise as far as the designing of diagonal straddle is concerned. To conclude, straddle is an event driven strategy. There is no doubt about that. Straddle is always very effective strategy, very important thing. Majority of the time, especially when the market is extremely complicated, volatile, and it is difficult to predict in which side the market goes. The market is going this way, market might going be this way. We are not sure about that. In this eventuality, straddles play a very important role. Rather, they are the preferred, I would say, option strategies. But having said that, before somebody takes straddle, I repeat, before somebody takes straddle, one should be very, very clear and holistic that is he going with vertical straddle? Is he going with synthetic straddle? Is he going with horizontal straddle? Is he going with the diagonal straddle? Because all four have different pros and cons, and we really need to understand these pros and cons in detail. Please do take a note of that. This is Rahul Magan from Treasury Consulting Group. You knew my personal number 98992422